are the primary. That's the primary reason why I am in the shadow of a mountain that has a cavern in it with my name on it. And there are other caverns here that have not been excavated on this property. 2 other ones. We don't know how deep they are. But the one that we have is very big, so we're not, not like we need the space. But that's the reason that there has to be a cavern in your contingency planning, because there's a threat. The only way you're going to neutralize that CME threat, whenever this stuff flares, becomes storms, magnetosphere fluctuates, power grids go down, you don't want to be walking around outside in the middle of the day. You want to be inside the cavern, right? And it's going to be 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after this thing reaches perihelion, right? Depending on those factors, those variables that I'm telling you about. It could be a little longer, it could be a little less. But 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, we should expect the sun is going to react violently to a big heavy mass object right next to it. So remember, the sun sits inside that gravity well, and this thing is going to come in and do a loop-de-loop around it. And even whenever a comet does that, it gets flares from the sun. It's a defense mechanism from the sun. It can actually change the direction of asteroids and comets and things that are going to crash into the sun. All right? So one falls out of orbit directly into the sun. The sun sends out a flare and it diverts it, and then it ends up in orbit around the sun. That's how they begin their life, as an orbiting satellite of the sun. Right? Well, that coronal mass ejection, those flares that come out towards the heavy mass object, just imagine when the Earth is right on the same side of the sun with the heavy mass object, and the flares start spilling out of the side of the sun. Run to your cavern if you have one. If you don't, what are you going to do? That's why so my threat assessment report includes the cavern, and the stuff is already in the cavern. Right? That's the solar threat that we're talking about. That's the reason for going there. But then, during the parts of the other threat, you don't want to be anywhere near the cavern, because this stuff's going to start shaking. Even though we're over here on the stable plate, then you're not going to take your chances in the cavern when the Earth is shaking. Right? So cavern, solar threat, and then know when to get the heck away from it. Open mind.
Hey, I just got back in here. Hey, listen, Terral, all this information's good, but you know what? If you can't really do anything with the information, what good is it to anybody? I'm serious. I started thinking about that. Everybody's in here talking about this, that, and the other, but if you can't really do nothing about it, and you can't help yourself, can't get the tavern, you're pretty much toast. So why are we even sharing this information? Seriously. I started thinking about this last night, and I kept thinking, we went through all this last year, and we're now hearing it now it's a heavy mass object. This is what Kazakh made up. You called it an LE, Kazakh called it a heavy mass object. Nobody knows what the hell it is, and we're still talking about it. And if it happens, then what can we do? Seriously, if you don't have anybody or no resources, you're pretty much toast. So what's everybody going to do about it? Seriously, to sit here and talk about it endless until it finally comes, then what? Seriously. My interest is in what can I do about it? You've already done something about it, right? But the most common folks can't do anything about it because they're working every day. They don't have enough money to do something like that. So what can you do? I know it isn't Earthship. I think it's a waste of time. That's what I think. I've concluded all this discussion is a waste of time, because here's what I'm interested in. What can I do about it? Who can help me, because I can't help myself? Well, I think everybody thinks that way. If you can't have anybody to help you because you can't help yourself, because you don't have enough money to go to a cavern, you just can't quit your job, stop taking care of your kid, and just up and move into a cavern. So you can do that. But most people can't do that. So what's in it for me? That's what I want to know. Oh, no, you can't, Earthship. Shut the hell up. Come up here and tell me I can help myself when I know I can't. I have enough money to get by every week, feed my kid, and that's it. Put gas in my car and drive back and forth to work, and that's all. I don't have any extra money to take any kind of time off and move down to go exploring somewhere to live in the case of a heavy mass object or whatever. I don't have them resources unless Aaron's really for sure. And I'm going to call him out on it too. I'm sick of waiting for him. I'm sick of hearing all this. this is going to be my room. Yeah, listen, I'm not going to be anybody's slave. We're going to talk about real things, like how are you going to make it? We know Terrell's made it already. He's in the Ozarks. He's fine. I'm not fine. You're not fine. Are you in the Ozarks? Now, I'm not talking to everybody because some people can do it. I'm talking to the common folks that cannot do it. What about you? Can you do it? This is what my room's all about. This is what I always wanted to know because it used to make me sick last year. And you remember this, Terrell. I love you. I think you're a nice person, kind man. But it doesn't help me with if the shit hits the fan, so to speak. If that happens, then I'm out of luck. But I think that God will take care of me. But I don't know anything for sure. Now I'm because Aaron invited me to his place. I feel like I'm protected. He's got that kind of stuff, but he's in a dead zone, like you said. So damn if I do, damn if I don't. So I don't know what to do. What are you doing? Not you, Terrell, because we know what you're doing. You're not going to help anybody. I mean, why do you keep talking about it? I mean, is there a reason why we keep talking endlessly about this? When last year you had to have an application, you had to have resources to get accepted or not, and all that kind of stuff. I think it's got to the point where I don't really care about that anymore. That's not what my room's about. My room's about fighting the beast system and the New World Order and all these people. In case you're called out, like most common folks are, and you don't have to go to FEMA camps, you can survive. I'm talking about survival. If you can't go to if a heavy mass object comes, I don't even think a bunker's going to help you, or a cave or anything. I think you're pretty much toast. But if there's solar flares coming, yeah, you can do that. But what can you do? What can anybody do? What can any person do besides Terrell and Kazik and all these other people? Because if you notice, Kazik nor Terrell is going to help anybody because, hey, they're helping themselves. I want to know what the common folks can do. That's what I want to know.
Steve, you sound a little disgruntled today. You go up and down like a sine wave. I think you're on a down day. All I'm doing is answering the questions. People ask questions, I give them the answer. It's like the truth. You tell the truth because it's the truth, not because it's convenient or anything like that. Same thing with Scripture. You're going to get raptured, Steve. I don't worry about you at all. And you just keep believing in God. You're one of the Christians. Everybody's not a Christian, though, so we've got to make provision for everybody. What are we going to do for the American Indians? So I'm part American Indian, too. Well, what are we going to do for them? They're not going to get raptured. The gospel's not for them. They're not members of Christ's body. What are we going to do? Just say, well, you're not a Christian. Heck with you. No, we're going to tell them, identify threats, create contingencies, and execute. And that's it. If they have questions, we answer them, and that's it. Very simple. It's not. And don't say I'm not going to help people. I try to help people every day. The question was, do you think they will have another big earthquake on the 188-day cycle? Remember, when the thing gets in here, the 188-day cycle ends. It's only good for as long as it's coming in from the Leo constellation. When it starts orbiting around the sun with us, everything changes. The 188th day that's what that next day is September 26th. That's what I'm saying. 926 keeps popping up, and I don't think it's just a coincidence. That's the day that Elenin crossed the celestial plane. It's not. That's the same day that Elenin came in alignment with the Earth, and it's the next day on the 188-day cycle. It's not that I think there's going to be a big earthquake that day. That's the day of the alignment. That's what they're telling us. The lettered agency operatives that made the Elenin orbit diagram. There was no Elenin comet, but there was a bunch of lettered agency operatives making the orbit diagram. To what end? The end is that they're giving us information if you know how to decode it. The information was for the elites. But if we know how to decode it, we can use it too. That's what I've been told from the astronomers. That's what makes the most sense yet. All right, but it's still unconfirmed. We do have means to confirm it, and that's what I'm trying to do. And just share the truth. I want to stand in God. When I stand before God, I want it to be for telling the truth. No matter what it is. Not picking and chooses. Just tell the truth. That's what it is about Scripture, 9/11, and heavy mass object. I can't help it. So I'm locked in. Ever since Elenin going in and the key and keywording it and being 9/11, Elenin, and all the keywords are in there. There's something here in this investigation. Can't say I know it all. Don't have all the answers, but I'm working on it. So, sounds good. I don't care if Starlet or Earthship or Tater or whoever comes up with something. If it sounds good, then no, it's not nonsense. Whenever you take too many electrons and you put them all in a big wad somewhere, it makes a deep V-shaped well. Event horizon, I think that's what we got. What would you like to call it? If you come up with something better, then I might take it and use it on the radio. Maybe, if it sounds good. Right? So, I can't claim to have come up with any of this stuff, but if I want to hear something that makes sense, then I use it. Nibiru, Sumerian, I think we lose people when we do that. Object of high mass. Go ahead, Steve, up mic.
Yeah, last year was Ellie, then Kazik come in the room, he made a heavy mass object. I talked to Aaron. He's a NASA guy. He knows more than you. He knows more than anybody that's ever been on Pelton. And he says there's nothing out there. He didn't see anything. I flat out asked him, I said, listen, was there something out there we really need to worry about? He goes, Steve, no, I've been listening for a year, and there's nothing that we've seen out there that's going to endanger the Earth anytime soon. He goes, although maybe sometime, early next year it's a possibility. I kept thinking, he told me limited stuff. But, I don't know. Nobody knows anything, I don't think. I just think people are guessing. And it's like all talk. I don't know if this is just entertainment or what. I mean, how quickly can you forget? Last year was Ellie, and this year is HMO. I don't think it's either one of them. Because if it was, somebody would have seen it by now. Don't you think somebody would have seen this thing by now? I'm not coming against you. I always liked you. You're a nice, kind man. And unlike Kazik, he's an asshole. But you're a nice, kind person. And I like you. But I don't know about what you're talking about. You always talk and you try to give information. I know you're trying to be helpful. But to me it's confusing. I keep thinking, all right, what if this is coming and it gets closer? Where's everybody supposed to go? Nobody has a place. I mean, how can I'm talking to the common people. I don't care about the people that's not common. I only care about the common folks. They're in my shoes. A lot of people like in my shoes. What are we going to do? That's what I want to know. That's what I care about more than anything. I don't care where it's at, and if it's here, it's there. Okay, let's say it's there, it's behind Leo, it's behind Mars, and whatever. What am I going to do in the meantime? Or say a person that's not a Christian doesn't believe in a rapture. What are they going to do? That kind of thing. See, I'm for the common folks. That's what I've always been concerned. I've said the same thing for a year and a half, or ever since we've been talking about this a little bit over a year. And that's what I'm concerned about. That's my main concern. That's the information I want. I don't care if it's here, if it's there. I want to know what I can do to get ready. And that kind of thing. What can common folks, people that has to work every day and they don't have the luxury of just taking their time and driving, somewhere in the Ozarks or whatever, or they don't have 194 people like Kazik does, and they got lots of money and resources, and they can just go, when they think that they're going to go when they get the buzzword and helicopter into the Ozarks. But most people can't do that. What about those people? That's what I want to know. That's what I care about more than anything. All this other stuff is just a bunch of talk. It doesn't mean anything. It never has. A bunch of egomaniacs running around thinking this, that, and the other. I just want plain common sense, not a bunch of rhetoric and calling HMO. And I knew there was going to be no Ellie last year. I always said that, but I always liked you. But I knew there wasn't going to be no HMO or Ellie. There's no such thing as an HMO. Nobody's seen it. There's thousands of astronomers out there. Somebody would have seen it. Aaron didn't see it. But, if he gets back, I'm going to call him out. I'm tired of messing with him, too. I'm tired of messing with all these people that just teach and give you a little bit and don't give you it all. And I know you